Welcome
to
the
conversation.
We're getting so good at that.
Look at us.
It's like a flow. It's just like woo-wee. And then I ruined it with the woo-wee.
Yeah.
I want to see like if we did auto-generated captions, how that's going to show up.
Probably going to say like whoopee or something. Whoopee.
Whoopee, not the whoopee. Okay, great. Welcome. Thanks, guys, for joining us. All your comments and your participation. We really enjoy it. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
As you drive to work or, I don't know, whatever you're doing, at the gym or out for a jog or a walk or cooking, as you got those little earphones in and everything.
Not earphones.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. It's good stuff.
It is good.
So we are going to continue talking about marriage. You can't, you just
Can't
have
say
to.
it without.
I
without the
know,
Princess
it's really
Bride.
strange. Yeah. Last time we really focused on communication and like learning each other. And so we're just going to keep going.
Yeah, love it.
I love it. And so I think that was a big part again. And I don't know that you'll ever stop doing that, is just like the process of learning one another.
Yeah, I think that's forever.
And I think like it's being willing to, no matter what, I embrace this person.
Yes, yeah. And their greatness
And
and their faults.
because we ain't gonna act like we don't have those.
Right. Right.
Yeah, everybody's got them. And I think like sometimes it's not even necessarily a fault. It's just we do things differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
And because we do things differently, we could kind of see that as a negative.
Yeah, that's true.
Like maybe your idea of like can dishes sit in the sink and my idea is like, no, they cannot.
They can never sit in the sink.
Yeah. And I actually agree with that. The two have become one. But you
No
know, I mean,
dishes.
just being on the different page when stuff
Yes.
like that happens, that
Yeah.
can even like, maybe not so much when people are like 10, 15, 20 years in, because you kind of
Yeah.
learn that stuff.
Right,
but in the
right.
beginning, that can
Yeah.
be tough challenges to overcome.
Right. I think it was hard to, like you were just saying, learning each other. And, you know, I love you, but you're not the
Uh-oh.
most organized person in the world.
That's fair.
But it depends. It actually depends. Like sometimes you can be super organized. Like
Yeah.
if you're at work, you're organized. But when you're at home, you're like, meh.
Gosh.
Not that you're like a slob or anything.
Right.
You're not. But I think I had to get used to, you know, maybe not being as organized as I am. And I think that was hard for me. But it was, you know, instead of like dwelling on all the negative things, like you don't do this right and you don't do that right, you know, it's really thinking and switching your mind.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, he's actually really good at this. And you think you dwell on the positive instead of the negative, and that really overcomes the negative things that happen.
And I feel like that's such great advice, not even just in marriage, but even like in parenting, like kind of even in your career,
In life.
is like turning your attention to the things that are going right as
Right.
opposed to the things that are going wrong, and then celebrating the small victories.
Yeah, right.
Like I'm gonna tell our business.
Oh, great.
It's so funny. We're at the place in our marriage where we can kind of like joke about these things. Like
Yes,
if
yeah,
I don't
right.
do something like maybe the way Rachel would do it, or
Right.
she doesn't do something the way I would do it, we're like, did you forget everything you learned in orientation?
It's true. We do say that a lot.
So we kind of joke on each other. But like one big thing for you is like, okay, are you ready?
Oh, I don't know. This looks like a serious face.
Oh, it's serious.
Yikes.
Like we have two hampers.
Yes.
in our-
oh, right.
Yeah,
in our laundry room.
In our laundry room,
Yes,
we have
we
two
do.
hampers. One is for exercise clothes, and one is for like regular clothes. And we separate those because we didn't want the stank.
Right. You don't want your wet, gross clothes on your other clothes.
Right, intermingling, even though they're about to get washed. But that's a
Right.
whole different topic. And so, like, it took Robert a few minutes to learn that system. You know, I was still throwing gross, sweaty clothes into hamper one instead of hamper two.
Yeah.
However you want to call it.
Yeah.
And you just were very sweet and kept asking. But what I liked is, like, when I would get it right, you were like, hey, good job, little buddy.
Yes, I would be like, oh my goodness, thank you so much.
Yes.
You know, thank you so much for putting your clothes in the correct hamper too.
But noticing, like, hearing that you noticed that
Yeah.
kind of like actually inspired me to do it more.
Right.
Because it's like, now I'm not just doing this thing to do this thing, but I'm doing this thing and it's being a blessing to you.
Yeah, you get praise.
Yes, and you communicated to me that it was being a blessing to you, which in turn inspired me more to do said thing. And it was about noticing the thing that was going right,
Right.
instead of you complaining every time I didn't do it right.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's like that.
Love language.
A love language, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. But it's like, we use that analogy when we do marriage counseling. We'll take that blank piece of paper, we'll draw that
Right,
dot
yeah.
in the center of the paper, and I'll hold it up and we'll ask the couple, like, what do you see? And almost like 100% of the time, they're like, we see that dot. And we're like, okay, this is like in marriage, when you have this one little issue going on and like you focus, you just dial in on that dot. And when you're looking at that tiny little dot in the middle of the page, you forget about all the good, clean space around it. And that's kind of like what we're saying is like, when Rachel notices that I do something that either she requested or is pleasing to her, and likewise, when I notice that she's done something that I've requested and that's pleasing to her or pleasing to me, words of affirmation and being
Absolutely.
like, I noticed that, like,
Right.
you know, I saw you, you know, do that, and thank you so much.
Yeah.
That's such a blessing to
Right.
me. And it's about bringing attention to the positive. And we
Yeah.
live in such a negative world.
We do, unfortunately.
Like even on the internet, you know, people just go straight negative, like this, and we let that bleed into our marriages sometimes, and into we let culture like become our culture,
Right.
And I don't want to like focus the negative, because we all have flaws,
Absolutely, we do. We're human.
and so I want to point at the things that you do right.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, life is hard enough. Life beats you down enough. And so it's like I don't want to add to the beat down of life.
That's a great point. Yes.
So it's like I know that you have a stressful job, and it's like, you know, when you come home, it's like I want to be your safe place, and I want to encourage you, and you know, I know that probably sounds cheesy, but
No.
but it's like I never want to add stress to your life.
Yeah.
I want to be a blessing to your life.
Yeah, no one wants to go from like difficult situation straight to difficult situation. Like you don't want to go right. And even with you, like homeschooling the boys, I know that can be challenging.
Right.
And so you're not going to want to go from that. So it's about like producing the environment that we want to live in,
Right.
and having an understanding of what that looks like, and then both working towards that
Yeah.
goal.
Right.
And I think something that helped us is another thing we talk about in marriage counseling is like a little bit of like marital expectations and marital
Yes,
roles.
yes.
What does this look like
Being
within
clear
our
with
house?
one another. Again, communication.
Yes, back to what does Rachel expect of Robert, and what does Robert expect of Rachel?
Yeah, I was like, I don't remember who
Bro,
you
I
said
was mathing
first.
hard in my head, and it was just a
The
struggle bus.
calculations.
It's impossible for you to meet that expectation if I never communicate that
Yeah,
expectation.
right.
Always goes back to communication. You know,
Yeah, communication is that first. It's the first hurdle. It's, you know, oof.
but even if you segue from that into love languages, how am I supposed to know yours
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
unless you communicate? And so that communication is, I mean, I know yours now.
Yeah.
And you know mine. We'll keep
Yes.
that between us. You know what I mean? Honestly, because I don't want to say it and be wrong.
Oh my goodness.
No, I'm just teasing.
You
I
know what it is.
Yeah. But love languages are important.
They are.
And like, again, back to marriage counseling, like we tell people, like your love language, look at your marriage as like a bank account. And like your love language is how you make deposits into that account. And then the more deposits you make, like we said, we're at a deficit in the last
Right. Yeah.
podcast.
Right.
But the more deposits you make, when you have a fight or you come onto a difficult situation, that's making a withdrawal.
Absolutely.
And so if you've been making those deposits and you've been making those deposits, then when something comes up, there's some resources in there to make that withdrawal to get you through the difficult times. But if you haven't been making any deposits,
That's difficult. That's
then
hard.
then when you fall on hard times, it's like now you're at a deficit. Your account is going negative.
Yeah, it's going super negative. You were negative. Now you're going really negative.
Yes, that's exactly right. Now you're just stacking bad on top
Yeah,
of bad.
yeah.
And so I want to figure out what communicates love to you, what communicates to the heart of Rachel, and then I want to feed into that because I want to make as many deposits as I can. Not that we plan for arguments and fights,
no,
but
you
stuff
don't.
comes up.
Stuff comes up, and we're all human.
Yes.
We all have bad days
Yes.
where, you know, you could pull a bomb out and be like, listen.
Ooh, not a bomb.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
Like,
I do.
Just shooting from the hip, and you say something off
Yep.
the cuff, and you're like, oh, where'd that come from? Didn't mean for that to come out.
And really, if you say something off the cuff and you haven't been making those deposits, then something that's kind of like not a big deal
Yeah, it gets
is a big deal.
Then there's the bomb. Yeah,
Exactly. And it should have never
Explosives.
been a big deal. But since we were already like on the razor's edge because we
Right.
haven't been making deposits into each
Right.
other's lives. And that's one of the things that we have to learn how to balance with career, with children, with all this other stuff. It kind of low key takes the attention off the marriage if we let it.
does.
And we end up making deposits into our children and making deposits into our career. And we just think our spouse is going to have our back and be at our side no matter what. And yes, that is true. But honestly, those deposits need to be made more regularly with your spouse than anybody else.
Right. Right.
I should be depositing more into Rachel than I do my career and into my children, because if this falls apart,
Yeah. Yeah, that's bad.
then everything else falls.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a domino effect.
yes, the parenting falls apart. And so like figuring out how to minister into one another is a priority.
Yes, absolutely. One thing that I love that we started doing that we put in positive deposits is just our nightly walks. You know, it's just us and we get to talk, and I love that. I think it's such a good positive.
And that's the thing. These don't have to be grand gestures.
No, they don't.
Every
or
single
when you
time.
like do the dishes, or you let me sleep in on Saturday. You know, it's just like these are all great deposits that you
Exactly.
do.
And it's just about being aware. Like Rachel will go to the store, she's got to get something, and she'll bring home like a little bag of peanut butter M&Ms because she knows that those just bless my socks off. But it's like, it's not necessarily about the bag of M. It's the fact that you were thinking about me.
Absolutely.
And like now it ministers to me.
Right. It's again, I see you and I see how hard you work, and I just want to bless you because I love you, and you know,
And that's kind of the same thing with like letting you sleep in or doing like I see how hard you work with the boys and taking care of the house, so let me just contribute and do my part. And what we're doing is we're making deposits.
absolutely.
And like us going for walks in the evening, somebody might think that that's so silly. Like, how does that deposit and feed into your marriage? Well, it allows us to like decompose, or whatever you want to call it.
Decompress.
Thank you.
I got you. It's there.
It allows us to decompress from the day, and we get to just talk to each other
Right.
without distractions, without the boys around. Even though we love our boys, it's like whether we go out for 30 or even 45 minutes, it's just a way for us to feed into one another with no distractions, no
Right.
television, no internet,
Right.
no distractions. We just get to feed in. And maybe your family right now is not a place to do that because your children are younger than ours. Find some way.
Yeah. I mean, even when the boys were little, remember after we would put them to bed, we would literally just sit in bed and like sometimes we would do pizza dates in bed, and
Yes.
you know, it's just something.
I want to encourage everybody, practice this. Anybody that's watching, anybody that is, hopefully find 10 minutes a day
Yeah, that's
to
good.
just talk to your spouse.
That's really good.
And like maybe after the kids have gone to bed, sit on your bed and just look at each other and have a conversation. That is so powerful.
Yeah. No phones, no distractions, no TV. Like, let's breathe for a second.
And you won't, maybe you will. It's at the start of that 10 minutes seems like an entire,
Yeah,
like,
it might seem like a really long
like with
time.
no phones and no TV and no
Right.
distraction and no children, just sitting on a bed and like looking at you and you
Yeah.
looking at me, and like we're just having a conversation.
You got to start somewhere, though. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're in the negative, you have to start somewhere. Even if it's awkward, you gotta, like you always say, embrace the awkwardness.
Embrace the awkward. And even if you're not a negative, we still want to challenge you, do that. Like,
Yeah.
find 10 minutes at some point in your day where you just sit down and you talk to your spouse. There's no one else around. Like I said, the children are in bed. I keep saying nighttime because that's most of the time when we can
Right.
do it. Turn off the TV, turn off the phone, let the children sleep, and just focus on your spouse. Begin to make some deposits, and that's just a simple way to do it.
Yeah, that's really good.
And it'll pay great dividends. Woo! We're going to do a part 3 because there's one thing more that I want to talk
That's
about.
exciting.
So we'll see you guys next time for part 3 on The Conversation.
Bye.
Ciao for now.